Tamara is an international speaker, 8 times #1 best-selling author, top 1% podcaster and marketplace minister, and featured in Forbes, USA Today, Inc., Entrepreneur, LA Weekly, and many other well-known publications. She's a keynote speaker with the Message Movement podcast, over 500 episodes and counting, and two other notable shows, The Founder Collective and Girls Gone Holy. She's a serial entrepreneur who works with high capacity Christian leaders to turn their messages into movements and share the good news. She's wildly in love with words and the word. Through a publishing company, Fit in Faith Press, she catalyzes messengers in the marketplace by building business tree. And I think that was so cute. Business tree through publishing, podcasting, and platform development while keeping play at the core. Her nonprofit, the Founder Collective, focuses on ordaining and sustaining marketplace ministers and is launching a world-class academy, wow, in 2026, alongside partners like John Maxwell. Whoa, whoa. Find her adventuring with a hubby, two kiddos and pups, or dancing and cartwheeling to stay alive and alive. Our topic today with Tamara is voicelessness versus volume, the becoming model. So, Tamara, you have done a lot in your career. My goodness. So, all the things you've done, but you've started, it looks like 11 personal businesses and supported thousands in launching their own. What got you on that path, first of all?
That's a great question. I'm exhausted just from listening to the things that I do. So don't compare yourself by any means, because on any given day I get to be all of those things, but we obviously don't get to do all of those things at once. So I believe in being present where your feet are. So right now you're seeing the version of me that is the speaker, the teacher, and the joy bringer. But I am also a mama, right? And I'm a wife all at the same time. I believe in the both and lifestyle, that I don't have to be one or the other.
Mm.
But in my raising up, I tell people I got bit by a bug in my house when I was little, the entrepreneurial bug, because my mom was also an entrepreneur. My grandma, her mother, was also an entrepreneur.
Wow.
And so it's been a lineage, a generational pass. And though my mom kept a clean house, she couldn't avoid all three of her children are entrepreneurs. So
Wow.
really cool to see how that evolved. She also handed me a microphone when I was very young, because it was one of her #1 fears of public speaking, which is a lot of people's. So
Yeah.
she would have us get up on the platform of our fireplace, and she would have people over, not specifically for this reason, but anytime they'd be over, she would have us stand up and either share about something we were learning in school, a book report that we wrote, show a picture that we drew. And so I got really comfortable
With
with,
visibility.
yeah,
That's
really good with it.
awesome.
Phenomenal. So if you're a parent listening, it's not too late. Start today, and or you can start practicing. So in that evolution, 9 of those businesses happened before the age of 30. I was not in
Whoa.
my faith at that point. And so I was really on that like American dream, hustle hard, perfection driven, go as fast as you can, as hard as you can, nothing else matters, go after the gold rush, right? The California gold rush, all the way here in Virginia, which is where I'm from. And I was not sustainable, right? Even as you listen to that, I'm like, nothing about that is sustainable. The only thing
No.
that sustains me now is that my strength is in heaven, and my Father in heaven, who allows me to do the things that I do. But
Mm.
the word that comes to mind as I listen to that often is burnout
Yeah.
and prioritization. I had no prioritization in the right lens, because I was going after all the wrong things. And
Success.
totally, oh, totally,
Yeah.
which sounds great. Like people will be like, that's amazing, 9 businesses. And it's like, yeah, but at what cost? And the what happened was I walked into my kitchen one day and I had this out of body experience. You can call it whatever you want, but it was a vision of a tombstone. And the tombstone literally said entrepreneur on it. And I remember being like, that's it. That's like what my life has come to. Meanwhile, I had 2 kiddos under the age of 2, and I was married, and that was nowhere to be found on the tombstone. But
Mm.
if you were to analyze my calendar, my day to day rhythms, that's what it would have
Wow.
represented. And
Yeah.
so I had this just shaking moment where I realized I need to get my priorities aligned. if I want to be the effective leader that I've learned to be through all of my leadership summits and all the things that I had done growing up, a lot had to change. So, Natalie, for 3 years, I went into like the hole. I went into like anonymous and anonymity, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And I just was like, I didn't want to be known. I didn't want to talk. I could hardly look people in the eyes. I just had to excavate everything that had been implanted. And that is a really voiceless season. So I'll stop there because I'm sure you have 1,000 questions, but I was voiceless
Wow.
at that point in my life.
Well, it's almost, so would you call that a form of burnout?
100%.
Okay, okay,
Burnout,
okay.
depression,
Yeah,
yeah, lack of
yeah,
boundaries.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, we can have a therapy session if you want. We could
Yeah,
stay
right,
right there. We could just
right.
the rest of the time because pretty much anything, I would lack of integrity, focus on,
Authenticity.
yeah,
So it's so interesting because you're not alone. Of course, you know this, like the whole type A, high achieving posture in many women. I mean, I had that. I mean, maybe I didn't go as I wasn't as, do as you maybe, but in my job, in my the way I approach life was very much from that perspective because that's the only way I knew at the time.
yeah,
And it really took me a long time it took me a life crisis
yes, me,
similar,
yep,
but much later on in my life
yeah,
where I had to go depression, just
yeah,
like lost, didn't know what my mission was anymore. And I had to, and I was not somebody who was practicing my faith at all back then. And that's what got me back into, well, I always believed, but I wasn't, yeah,
sure,
got me back into like, I've got to start reading my Bible again and getting anchored and rooted in the faith that I know is true. And like, it was almost like and I had a couple of episodes of going down, rebooting, almost like a restart, fresh, clean slate, starting over with a new lens, like I say, new
yeah,
framework, new way to be more humbled, and the
yes,
humility, right? So when you have to go that when you're going through something like that with the depression, with the just whatever, all I was
yes,
going through, like the humility that
yes,
and just the sort of like it made me realize I'm in control of so little
yeah.
because before that I'm like I really thought I controlled so much, Tamara.
So true. And we still are guilty of it. Nobody think that we've figured it out yet, just so you know, because we can put our hands right back on the driver's wheel and be like, I got this, right?
Yes.
And very quickly we're like, I don't got this. Like back to the humble state. I surrender. I cannot. You've got it. And so just recognizing there's a difference between how long we stay in that driver's seat versus saying, okay, I'm going to help navigate over here, but essentially the plan's already been directed. I just have to come under alignment with that plan, with that vision. And that's really what the becoming model was. And I share about this in my book, Always Becoming. And it's
Mm,
literally unpacking that journey and what actually happened and how did I come back into alignment, wholeness. People will call it like mind, body, spirit awareness. Mine was specifically connected to my faith, but anyone can go through a health journey mentally, physically, emotionally, relationally, financially, and spiritually, regardless of what their faith background is. So what happened in the major flip of the script 3 years later when I came out of being voiceless into like starting to slowly raise the volume. I started my podcast at that point. I started
mm,
coaching at that point. I started talking on teeny tiny small stages in rooms.
wow.
And that is
Yeah.
because of this idea of the becoming model and recognizing that I was actually nowhere. I had not gotten anywhere. I hadn't really achieved anything. And I was really, like you said, starting at bar none, getting started. And people will say the quote like, "It's not about the destination; it's about the journey."
Journey.
Right. And so that is becoming. That is celebrating who you are in this very moment, and knowing that today is just one fraction of an understanding of your eternity, of your entirety. And so it became this idea of being before brand and business. And so, if there's
Mm,
leaders in here that are either CEOs, entrepreneurial, visionaries, you're all an entrepreneur at some point in your life, is recognizing that if your brand or your business is coming before who you are to be, then what you're doing has no synergy, it has no alignment, and it will end up going to shambles. So we have to know who we are in order to do what we do and have what we have, versus the whole antithesis, which is literally have and then
Do.
do and then
Yeah.
be. But it's
Yeah.
literally biblical: be, do, then have.
Love that. I mean, love that. I mean, I always say who we be, what do I say? Who we are is who we, how do I say it? Who we be is how we lead. True, authentic, effective leadership comes from our being versus our doing. I say it
That's
all
it.
the
That's
time
it. That's so
because,
good.
but again, we were so conditioned to believe it's about the do, go,
Yeah.
have, right?
Yep.
And honestly, if there's no, if the being isn't stabilized, if the being isn't grounded and healthy, you're actually an unhealthy, toxic, probably leader who is not in any. So it's almost like flipping the script, flipping the narrative. And I love how you put that being over brand and business. Because we can get so caught up in the shenanigans of what it looks like, how people perceive us.
Yes.
But if we're disconnected from ourselves, and for women of faith, disconnected from our faith, we're functioning on what?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I don't even know what actually.
What's actually keeping us going? I really don't know.
Yeah,
Motivation?
motivation. Yeah,
I
that
guess.
competitive.
Applause, right? I think for me, there is an element of achievement. Like you mentioned
Yeah.
success, but there's also affirmation, right? Being given to me. Wow, look how young she is, that she's able to do that. She's the only woman at the board table. She's the youngest married couple in her neighborhood with the nicest car. And you
Mm,
get this, you start to stand in on this ego that is being developed almost for you. And so while I think ownership is a really huge part of leadership, there's also the societal projections that are happening to us and around us every given day that we aren't even aware of. It's like an unconscious awareness that we're
yeah.
standing in and thinking, this is what I'm supposed to do, right? This is how I should be living, right? And that's where that rat race, that rat wheel gets going. And you get to that place of burnout and you're like, wait a second, I've been literally running the same cycle for however many decades.
Yeah.
I'm done. I want off. And when we get off, that to other people, they don't understand. Like
It's
we look
crazy.
crazy. Yes.
So it's because so this really matters, especially with this audience is predominantly women. And as women, we so many of us wear multiple hats, like you're saying before. I'm a
Yes.
mom, I'm a wife, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a, you know, minister, whatever the roles you're playing, we carry